Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Old Time Rock and Roll. I'm your host, David Tier, where I've been featuring my personal top 3,000 songs of the rock era from 1954 to 1999. Today, I'm up to song number 2895, which is Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen, also known as The Boss. And I'm sure most of you, probably all of you, have heard of Bruce Springsteen. He's considered one of the greatest. Rock and roll artists of all time. And I'm going to go through briefly his history first. So he was born in Long Branch, New Jersey, in 1949, and he was inspired by the Beatles. He watched the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1964, and I think that's what inspired him to become a musician, singer songwriter, and he got started recording in '72 with Columbia Records, and his first big album was called Born to Run. This one came out in 1975, featured the title track, Born to Run, which is one of his most well-known songs. Also featured 10th Avenue Freeze Out and Thunder Road. And then his next big album came out in '78. It was called Darkness on the Edge of Town. This one featured Badlands, Prove It All Night, and the title track, Darkness on the Edge of Town. In 1980, he had a big album called The River. And I used to hear this one all the time. I wasn't a big Bruce Springsteen fan at first. I mean, I guess his music grew on me eventually. I kind of think of him a little like Bob Dylan. I mean, Bob Dylan was an amazing songwriter, as you all know. He's considered one of the greatest songwriters of all time. I also think that Bruce Springsteen is an amazing songwriter. Maybe not quite as good as Bob Dylan, but definitely up there. And Bob Dylan couldn't sing really, and I don't think Bruce Springsteen can either. I don't think he has a very good voice. And a lot of Bob Dylan's songs were re-recorded, and I think a few of Bruce Springsteen's have as well. As a matter of fact, he didn't have any number one hits on his own, but his song "Blinded by the Light" was re-recorded by a British band called Manfred Mann in 1977, and their version of that song went to number one. I believe Bruce Springsteen's biggest hit was Dancing in the Dark, which went to number two. That was featured on Born in the USA. I'm going to get to that in a minute. But The River came out in 1980. This is the year I started college at the University of Michigan. Everybody I knew just about was listening to this album. I mean, Bruce Springsteen was just everybody I knew in Michigan loved him, and I was surprised because I hadn't even really heard of him before. But that was my introduction to Bruce Springsteen in college, and The River was popular as soon as I got there. And The River had the hits "Hungry Heart," "Out in the Street," "Point Blank," "Cadillac Ranch," and the title track "The River." And then in '82, he had an album called Nebraska, and I don't think I ever even heard any songs from this album. It did feature a song called Nebraska. I guess the title track also features a song called Atlantic City and Open All Night. But I'm not even familiar with this album. In '84, he had his biggest album. It was called Born in the USA. And this one was on the charts forever. I remember this was on the charts for like 2 years. It was just such a popular album. And it had just several big hits on it. It had the title track "Born in the USA." It also had "Cover Me" and it had "I'm on Fire," "I'm Going Down," "Dancing in the Dark," which I already mentioned, "My Hometown," and the one I'm featuring today, "Glory Days." So, that's just that's some of the songs on that album. And in '87, he had an album called "Tunnel of Love." This one featured the title track "Tunnel of Love" and also "Brilliant Disguise." And he's still recording, and he had other. These were his big albums. After that, I think he had CDs, and he had other big album CDs, and but that's all I'm gonna go through of him. And like I said, he was a really, really great artist. Still is, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the song "Glory Days." I didn't even like this song when I first heard it, but it's one of those songs that just kind of grew on me, and I think I started appreciating it more once I kind of realized what he was singing about. It's really it's a cynical song, like a lot of his other songs are. He's singing about the people he used to know in high school, Like, he used to know this baseball player was really good. And, he used to brag about how he was like, yeah, was really good at baseball and good with women and all this stuff. And he knew another woman who was really hot and, just turning all the boys' heads and kind of partying and living it up. But then, as he grew up and they grew up, I guess they just didn't have much of a life after that. So all they really did was go to the bar and talk about their glory days, their old days of high school. And, he's basically saying, I don't want to be like that. And I'm glad I'm not. And I don't think he was, because he went on to become an amazing singer songwriter. And I think he's still going strong. So good for Bruce. Good for the boss. He didn't settle down, and start reminiscing about his glory days of high school. So, anyway, that's my profile on Glory Days by Bruce Springsteen. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.